Dome Theory number 73. Justin Rowan is back. I didn't think it'd be so soon, but it was a weekend of Cleveland. It was the weekend of LeBron with the game winner. It was the Cavs team winning the skills competition. It was all Cavs. It's been the season of Cavs. So let's do another Cavs show. Why not? You can never.
Yeah, right? Everyone wants to talk Cavs right now. I think that's the way that this is.
Well, this is great. You were there in Cleveland, Ohio, down from however many feet of snow have piled up on top of you and up in Canada now, which is looking rough. We're gonna get like 7. You probably have like 40.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I spent my lunch break today shoveling enough to get some light back in my house. So that wasn't the most fun in the world, but as you can tell from my voice not being all the way back, I did have one hell of a weekend, and it was a very good time. To be back in Cleveland, Ohio, and the city looked fantastic. Everyone I talked to seemed to have a really good time and enjoy the good food and the good people there. So I definitely think it was a successful weekend.
It looked like a ton of fun. I really regretted not going. I didn't think it was going to be very eventful, but I forgot they were doing the 75 team. And obviously, there was like a bunch of Cavs involved, which always makes it fun. Like, this is like a
An
landmark
undefeated
Cavalier season.
weekend. An
Yes.
undefeated weekend for the Cleveland Cavaliers because Okoro and Mobley won on Friday. They won the skills contest on Saturday, and then Garland and Allen got it done on Team LeBron. So a very successful weekend for a Cavs team that was going into the break with back-to-back losses.
Closing effort for Allen, too. I didn't expect that over Jokic. We'll get into
You love
that.
to see it.
Big minutes against Embiid late. It was an awesome game, but let's just go through your experience. I'm not going to talk a ton on this show. I just want to hear what it was like to be there. Obviously, I saw you guys sign on again with the Cavaliers doing the chase down for another year, whatever you signed on for. Maybe it was a max, maybe it was 4 years.
We'll keep the details on the down low. I'm
Right.
not trying to get robbed here. That's kidding.
Well, that's exciting. I was hoping to get Carter on. Carter was there as well, right?
Yeah, Carter was there. His voice is in better shape than
That's
mine.
probably why he wasn't available.
And he's got fatherhood. It's responsibilities, and that's not the case for me. So it is great to be back here, and it was great to be there. I mean, the city for the most part, like. The weather actually wasn't too bad. There was a couple days of very cold wind, unfortunately, but there was a few days much above freezing. That was nice. Yeah, there were 2 days. There were 2 days that were cold. Even though it wasn't as cold as here, the wind just managed to really get you. So that was tough. But outside of that, like the city looked gorgeous. All the pop-ups and the cool things that were going on around town, people seem to really enjoy. The media folks that I talked to really seem to have a good time as well. It's a good food city. There's a lot of cool places to go drink and meet up with people, and everyone's so friendly that it made for a very fun environment.
So there's a lot of events going on too. I saw there was the HBO Lakers documentary or whatever. I saw it had a kickoff. There was a really cool Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson versus.
Yeah.
Which was just a phenomenal idea. And I've been talking about versus for a couple of years on this show here, and I've really enjoyed it. The format's amazing, and to bring it to sports, it's just like another home run for them. They've just been like stepping in shit since the beginning of the pandemic with how like many events that they've been able to put on, whether it was Snoop Dogg and DMX getting like hundreds and millions of viewers, and this was a big moment, and really just everybody historically being there, whether it was the ultimate draft that was really funny. I enjoyed watching that a lot, and that event, and of course the halftime show, the 75th anniversary.
Yeah,
you would have liked to have seen more legends there, I felt like, but still seeing Jordan and LeBron hugging and having Rodman there like you talked about, and just so many legends, Magic, Isaiah, all in the same place. Like, that's a really special thing.
Yeah, the reality is we're still living in a COVID world, and unfortunately, some people are more comfortable than others, right? So it would have been great to have Bill Russell in the building. I definitely understand where he was coming from there, and some of the other players that couldn't make it out, but the ones that did, oh my goodness! And it sure was like it still was a lot of legends that were able to attend and to be in the same building as that ceremony was a really really cool experience. Michael making the the flight on the private jet after the Daytona 500 to be there just in time to get
I think
announced. Like,
everybody thought he wasn't going. I
it was
told my boss, I told Nick, I was like,
we
he's
didn't
not
expect it.
there.
We
He
talked about
skipped
it during
it.
the ceremony. Yeah, we talked about it during the ceremony. We're like, oh man, it would have been cool if
Then he
Jordan
came out
came.
and it's like, whoa, there he is.
And he came out with drunk uncle energy, which was very very enjoyable
It was a
to
jovial
watch.
Jordan. Him and Rodman hugging it out. Him and LeBron hugging it out, which I don't think we've ever seen an interaction like that between the two. I know someone was comparing it to the first time they met, which was more just like a little cold handshake. Now it was
Mhm.
full embrace.
Yeah, yeah. I think if they have, it was probably a lot earlier in his career when there were those kind of moments. But yeah, I think that was it was very enjoyable to see Jordan relaxed and kind of taking everything in and embracing today's players. I thought that that was a very very cool moment, and that's the type of stuff you want to see, right? Like you want to see the legends of yesteryear coming in and embracing today's players. So definitely very very cool to be in the building for that.
Of course, no just no Pippin. Yeah, which would have been interesting if they had that run in. And of course there was a weird Allen KG interaction and everyone was like, ooh, it's still not looking good there a month out from the jersey retirement. And then they took a picture together, which I guess is something. I still don't know how that's gonna go. I'm really excited for KG night, which is I want to say 2 or 3 weeks from now. It's coming up quick in the March.
Hmm.
So that's the night that everyone's thinking maybe Ray Allen comes back to the Garden for the first time and gets embraced, and which I think would be how people would react to him at this point. But
Yeah,
there's still a coldness between Garnett and Allen that might prevent that from happening.
it was hard to read kind of the body language in there, right? Like we were all trying to play body language experts. I kind of felt like KG had like a little bit of a smirk, like he was getting ready to dap up Ray, and Ray just kind of walked by, kind of situation. So
He
I,
greeted LeBron.
it's yeah, well, it's hey, he made his own decision there in that moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up showing up for the jersey retirement. Just they posed for the picture after. I think things will be fine there. I like to be an optimist at heart.
They have to. I mean, he can. We've talked with Max a ton about this too. He cannot be erased from Celtics history. His jersey deserves to be retired too. If Garnett's is going to be,
Hmm.
there's no doubt about that. They don't win in '08 without Allen. I'm still so torn about it. It's crazy that we're still talking about it. What is it now? Like well over a decade since he left. This thing still a decade later to me is pretty insane. And to have like kind of cold feuds, like I guess you could call this whole Pippen and Jordan situation, which is way older now at this point, is so strange to
Hmm.
me. And you look at
Well,
these
I
events
mean
like
that's a pretty
this.
new feud. That's a new feud because that's the start of the pandemic with the way that Michael portrayed him in the documentary, right? I think that's where a lot of this came from. Is he didn't like the Jordan
The
commercial
Last
that was,
Dance, yeah.
yeah, he didn't like the Jordan commercial of The Last Dance, right? And I think it definitely kind of struck a chord there. And even when we were having our meetup party at Flannery's in Cleveland, we had Dennis Rodman roll up in there and buy everyone in the bar
All
shots.
right,
And
let's talk about
and
that.
even then, he was asking people in the crowd if they thought that Mike and Scotty talked to each other. That was one of the things that he was saying when he was holding court and whatnot. So I think that was definitely a unique experience. But I think recent history with Mike and Scotty is what's kind of driving that feud.
There was a moment where they were all taking a picture on the stage too, I saw, and Rodman just like threw off the 75 jacket, and I don't know what he was wearing underneath, some sort of sweatshirt. I think he wore the same thing to the bar probably that you were at. It was pretty interesting outfit he was in, but man, he was in full Rodman form. It was good to see him there, but he's still Rodman. He really is. So how was that interaction with them?
Weird. Like, it was weird. It was great. It was surreal. It was everything that you would expect. Yeah, I mean, it's Dennis Rodman. Now, I am now 1 degree of separation removed from Kim Jong Un, which is quite the quite
Wow.
the way to live a life.
There might not have been a shower since. It might Oh man, that was just great. Like seeing all those people there, and I do get disappointed too because you think about how many people couldn't be there. I mean, obviously many have passed on. You had the Kobe
Mhm.
moment, which was pretty emotional there when he got announced, and you think of just these silly feuds, especially the Allen one, and it just like how little these like spites are between these guys. Like you never know when you're gonna go, especially in a COVID era where like that's taken many people at this point. You think like these moments, the rare moments where everyone's able to be together and celebrate those situations would prevail, but there's still these feuds that you gotta hash out here. And I think it's interesting too, LeBron being back in Cleveland. That had its own ceremonial aspect to it. This almost strangely became like a mix of all right, the Cavs are back and let's celebrate LeBron because this is where he started his career and this is where he made his legacy and blah 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 blah. And those sort of things were butting heads the whole weekend because LeBron really made this his own like ceremonial return through holding
Shocking, right?
court at
Very
press
very shocking.
conferences. And listen, the fade away for the winner was pretty epic
That's
in that
incredible.
house.
You couldn't
Yeah.
have scripted it better, right? Like,
And
you
I
had
knew when it was going up, that was going down.
you had Steph Curry doing an all-time shooting performance, and then down the stretch, going 1 for 9 there, not able to break Anthony Davis's record. Gave him that kind of last shot to try to hit the record-making three, and it went off. But it definitely was cool to have not only LeBron hit that game-winning shot, but Jarrett Allen closing over Jokic and doing a very good job on Embiid. Embiid was kind of giving him the business a little earlier in the quarter, and Allen was making him work, but it doesn't seem to matter at times when you're talking about Joel Embiid. Like he's, in my opinion, he's the MVP this season, and
He
uh,
was going off early.
the most you can do is to hope to make him work, right? So I think Allen making him work and eventually kind of making him tired late in the fourth quarter was pretty cool to see. And once again, I think the Elam ending has saved All-Star Game. Like the fact that we can have like borderline real conversations at times over certain stretches of the game, I think is a big win. But the format has just made things so much more interesting.
And I had the TBT founder, who obviously worked with Elam on the rule there on a couple of years ago. And I think when I had him on, I was like, yeah, this is great. It's been great for TBT. And of course, they did it at that All-Star game when everybody really figured out that this is like a potential alternate way to end games here. And now seeing it through, I guess this is the third year they've used it. I'm all on board. They used in the Rising Stars, of course, as well. No one likes the end of basketball games. Like I think we all just accept it the way it is with the fouling and just
I
dragging it out in the timeouts and stuff. Like I think we all are just like, yeah, that's just the way it is. But then we watch this every time and we're like, this is amazing. And every game ends on a. So at some point, like, yeah, it's going to
Sometimes
be a
it ends
weird
on free
transition if
throws,
they.
though. Sometimes it ends on free throws, and that sucks. Like I think if you wanted to make one tweak, maybe you could have it so that like a foul in the
You
last
can't
minute
end
is
on a
like a
free throw.
no, it's like negative points for your team. You lose a point, but I don't
Mm.
know how you do that. I don't think Elam ending necessarily needs to be like regular season basketball. That's just how it ends now. But if they're ever going to do an in-season tournament or something along those lines, I think that would be an easy win for them to kind of change the format just for those games.
Yeah, I mean, there's trade-offs for sure. Usually you're shooting free throws at the end of the game anyway, so it's like a big free throw shooting contest in the last minute or whatever it is to begin with. And it probably helps get things done in a more exciting way in a like close game, but a blowout would probably be a little more monotonous trying to reach that score. It's just I think the only reason people oppose it for the most part is that it's weird and different, and it wouldn't take that long for people to start buying into it. So I'm
Mhm.
there. If they ever wanted to do that, maybe I heard Simmons on his podcast today saying like maybe that's the in-season tournament, or that was actually the mismatch. KOC and Vernon were talking about that.
Yeah,
That
I
would
would
be
be
an
on board
interesting
for
spot
that.
to try it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been great in this game. There's no denying that, and the Rising Stars certainly as well. It benefited that quite a bit. That was a great game too.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
as you said, Mobley, Okoro involved in that. Cade Cunningham, I think, really showed a lot of people what he's made of, winning the MVP there, and quite a
Mhm.
number of guys who haven't gotten a full spotlight yet were able to do some incredible stuff in that game, which is what it's all about. And I haven't been super into it in the past, but this year it was just loaded with talent.
The mini games helped, right? Like it keeps the interest in there because otherwise that game you're checking out by the second quarter. Like it just it's half-ass basketball that doesn't really mean anything. And when you're playing those mini games, there's like a reset, right? Like one game's done, you go to the next one. Then the two winners play. You know that there's a target score, and I thought the intensity. The first game was a little more loose, and then the second team came in, and you had guys like Okoro and Mobley that just can't turn it off defensively. Same with Jason Tate. He was playing really, really hard, and I think that kind of set the tone for the rest of that night. And it was pretty good competitive basketball. And if I was to change all-star format, I think I might even consider that for the real game because you get to see every single player, right? Play meaningful minutes that
Like a little mini tournament for the real game.
yeah, that could be fun, but I think as is they've already done a really good job fixing it.
For sure. And I didn't think that team of Halliburton, Edwards, and Bane could
Whew,
lose,
that was
especially
such
with
a good team.
Bay. I mean,
That
you
was such
throw
a
a
good
fourth
team.
guy like Bay in there, but Edwards didn't play in the title game, which was
That
weird.
was it. Yeah, like Edwards, I don't think he even played a ton in the first one, right? Like I think
He was
there
just
was some
chilling.
talk that maybe he's dealing with like a little bit of an injury. I know that's been shot down, but I guess it's possible if he's not 100% healthy that you don't want him playing a lot of minutes on All-Star Weekend. But yeah, he doesn't have anything to prove by being there.
You had a slight G League insertion too.
Yeah,
Dyson
that's fun. I
Daniels.
think that's really good showcase for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a ton of people notice them, but it's a good idea of trying to force them in because if one of them potentially did end up having a big game, everyone would be like, "Whoa, who's that?" But
It's also
didn't end up
another
happening.
incentive for players that want to skip college and go to the G League, right? Like you
Thousand
do this
percent.
and you have the chance to compete on All-Star Weekend. I think that's a major draw.
And maybe they'll end up getting in the dunk contest. I know they had one G League guy try it last year or 2 years ago at this point. Who knows what year that was, but didn't work. That wasn't a good event again. I wouldn't
Got
be
to witness
surprised if
some
people.
history, one of the worst dunk contests ever.
I wouldn't be surprised if people were leaving. I didn't.
They
After,
were leaving before Obi got the trophy. Like the crowd was already kind of exiting during that ceremony, which was pretty funny.
it was
I mean,
bad.
part of it's his fault too, because that final dunk he got off before like the reset had even occurred, right? Like he just kind of rushed into that dunk, and the announcer hadn't even announced him that he was going. It was
And
like a
he was
weird little walk
fine.
off.
I like the one that finished it off the backboard and in.
The
He
made
tried that
dunks
one
were
earlier.
fine. The made
Yeah.
dunks were fine. The problem was the field goal percentage in the dunk contest was lower than the 3-point contest, and that
Oh.
can't be the case.
I mean, it felt like Jalen Green could barely dunk at times, and Cole too. I mean, he put the shoes on, he could barely get up there.
Yeah, the
The,
Tim's sapped his legs. That was not the smartest idea, and it also took 10 minutes to tie.
to set it up, and then he had like that spinning one where in the air that would have been good if he got to. It just took him forever, and Obi was fine. Like if he was like fourth place with what he did, that would have been great, and even third place. But he ends up being the winner with what he did, which wasn't great. It felt like by default. And the stupid NFT thing that Green Green did there, I was like, what? It was just like, is he gonna wear it? Then he took it off and just kind of did a normal dunk. It was a disaster. I'm fine with keeping it because there'll be years where it's
Oh
great. You
yeah,
just gotta
it's just
expect
a
the
hit or
years
it's a hit
where,
or miss event.
yeah.
It's fine. It is what it is, and when it sucks, it's something everyone gets to laugh at together. I don't think it's a big deal.
No, it's not. Maybe you got to move it though, because the 3-point, I'd say, is better at this point. I mean, it was exciting
No,
again this
no. The
year.
the 3-point doesn't have the ability to ever be a headliner. Like it's just fine. It is what it is. It's the 3-point contest. Like there's never going to be a year where it's, "Oh my god, like the 3-point contest was the best thing I've ever seen."
There's
It's
been
just
years. You had
fine.
some years with Curry and Clay
It's
and those types in there.
even when like Cat like basically set a record, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't move the crowd. Like it's very it's fine, like it's going to it has a high floor and a low ceiling to use that analogy.
Fair
Like
enough.
it's fine. Like it'll never touch a good dunk
It
contest,
got
and that's fine.
overshadowed by Curry's real 3-point shooting contest in the game.
Exactly.
Now that was
And the
absolutely
dunks in
insane.
that game were better than the dunk contest as well.
Jaws reverse to start it off. Yeah, that was the best dunk of the weekend, I would say. And there's some other good ones in there too. But
Hmm.
Curry, man. So him and LeBron were on the same team, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't really have them facing off here, and Curry was
Yeah,
getting
that
booed
that
like
Kevin
crazy.
Durant team building came back to bite him once again,
It
where
did.
he just let LeBron get all the top players.
And he avoided Harden, which kind of screwed up the setup there too. But
Yeah,
either way, Curry just put the shot chart up. And if you're like a nerd, or if you just love basketball, or you just like seeing something that you've never seen before, work of art, really. You look at that shot chart that Curry put together
whew.
there in this game. Almost everything from half court. You had the turnarounds in the corners where he's facing the crowd. That was
He was
special.
psychotic. He was psychotic. It was amazing.
I
That
don't
was
think
such a
you'll
fun
ever
experience.
see a shooting game like that. And, they're open, right? But just the distance and the efficiency that he put on out there, plus just shooting that percentage on that many, what was it, 16 to 21, I want to say in the
Yeah,
end?
it was crazy.
Absolutely insane. And he shut up the crowd for sure. They were booing him all, and he deserved it when they were doing that like reality show preview before the events there. I mean, I'm sure that was
Oh
a bathroom
man.
break for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we love good sports hate, right? Like that's where it should be, where sports hate comes from some level of respect, right? Like everyone knows how good Steph is, everyone knows how good Draymond is. And to have an actual crowd that's, that knows the history, that knows who to boo and all that. Like I think that's a real, like, that's fun, right? And Steph clearly embraced it. By the end of the night, they were all cheering, got a big ovation when he got the MVP that he earned well, right? Like, like as long as people aren't being shitty with that, right? Like if you're keeping sports hate in the realm of sports, and it's all fun and it's kayfabe to some extent, like that's beautiful. That's what makes basketball beautiful. So to see that and to see Steph really rise to the occasion was just so much fun.
How'd the crowd react to LeBron? I'm sure it was mostly positive.
Oh, he was 100% positive. I mean,
All right.
he was peppering stories about, keeping that door slightly open. I mean, I think that was a very savvy play by him to guarantee, one, that he was going to get a very, very warm reception. And he did. It was insanely loud when LeBron was introduced. Obviously, everyone lost their minds with the game winner. But at the same time, the Cavs and like, I think the Cavs serve as a very convenient boogeyman. I don't think that there's a real chance of him coming back to Cleveland in the near future here. And with the Cavs being so good, they make a lot of sense for a guy that really understands leverage and how to use it. Makes sense to bring them up as a possibility, right? Because everyone can see that as an easy storyline. And I don't think that he's going to be leaving LA, but clearly with the Lakers kind of sitting on their hands, he probably felt like he needed to do something to get them moving again.
So I can't believe we're having this conversation already. I think we teased it last time we talked, just because it became like a whispering thing, like, oh, the Cavs looking pretty good. LeBron's free agency's coming up in a year. Maybe there's a reunion there in the cards. And like you said, he didn't close the door on it. He was praising Kobe all up and down. He was praising Sam Presti for some reason, which was kind of just doing
Yeah.
all these
That,
smoke
that that's how you
signals to
know it's
LeBron.
really leverage. That's how you know it's really a leverage play, because Sam Presti doesn't
Yeah.
deserve that. I think the only ovation larger than the one that LeBron got was Mike, because nobody expected him to be there. Like we're getting to the end of the ceremony, and then all of a sudden Michael Jordan just comes out of the tunnel, and like everybody was so shocked because he had not been there for the weekend. We knew, like we saw him on TV at the Daytona 500 like 2 hours ago.
It was
So,
unreal.
so for him to make that surprise appearance, I think was the only time I heard it as loud or louder
Maybe the
all
Kobe
weekend.
moment. Those were all pretty loud.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. I kind of wish that they let it breathe just like a hair more.
Yeah, they blew it through it.
But yeah, it's when you're announcing that many people, I understand why you got to keep it moving.
For sure. So where are you at on it? I know you don't think it's possible. Let's say it is in the cards, And the Cavs have to make a choice here. Do they want to do this or not? I understand people on the Cavs side, Cavs fans, saying that they don't want to go through this LeBron experience again, even if he rounds us out perfectly. And there is a trade this summer. If you think about maybe packaging up like Colin Sexton a sign and trade, I'm sure you'd be fine with that. Markkanen's got a big contract, and then there's like
You would
one
need
other
40
thing.
million. You'd need 40 million salaries.
Said he would be the third guy there. So that matches depending on how much money Sexton wants, which could be a tricky like sign and trade hard cap thing for the Lakers there. But there's a real
How
chance
much
here.
money Sexton wants doesn't really factor in, right? Because that's not money clearing off the Cavs cap. Like it would just be whatever his cap
On the
hold
Lakers
is.
side, there's a hard cap to bring in a guy in with a sign and trade. So that would be
Yeah.
the only difficult, depending on what happens with Russ, right? I don't know how they end up getting rid of him in that scenario. But either way, the Cavs can make it work here.
If he wants to come after the contract is up, I'm fine with it. Like it's one of those situations where now it's a different environment, right? Like the Cavs have built something very good that's looks to be sustainable moving forward. And if he wants to be a part of that, and that's a different than them coming to him with their hat in hand, right? Like
Yeah.
in the past, I would be open to that. But in terms of giving up like significant assets and like really kind of emptying the war chest to trade for LeBron, I can't see the motivation to go and do that, right? Like
You get
I
him in a
could,
year earlier, 39 versus 40, I'd say. It
but
might be a big difference there.
yeah, but they're not in a position to go make a 1-year run, right? Like you're still talking about Garland, who's 22 years old. You're talking about Mobley, that's 20. Like I don't care how good LeBron is, you're probably not winning with that much inexperience around him, right? Like basketball is still a team sport. You don't have guys win prior to 26, and LeBron, like he's still incredibly good, and I would favor him over a lot of guys in a playoff series, but he's probably not a top 3 or even top 5 player anymore. I don't think you win a championship. So if you're not winning a championship automatically with him being here, I'm not giving up a whole ton of assets in a trade, especially multiple first round picks that would
Ooh, that's the one, right? Yeah.
that would impact your ability to trade future picks down the road. Like I think the Cavs are in a very good position if they want to make a consolidation
But
move.
we've talked about finding the star, right? You want Jalen, not happening. But
No, Jalen's not happening. But like, let's say DeJounte, who's got 2 years left before unrestricted free agency. Like, if the Cavs want to go after him if he becomes available, or any disgruntled young player, they're in a good position to make a consolidation type move and build something that's sustainable. I think Evan Mobley is probably going to be the star. Like, I think he's going to be the number one guy at one point here. But you got Garland, who's already an all-star and seems to fit in pretty well there. He's only going to continue to get better. Jarrett Allen's going to get better. I think they can take a patient approach and continue to build something sustainable. So I don't think LeBron wants to leave LA either. I think he just wants to put the pressure on them and get them like acting, right?
that's
Like,
fair, right? Because he's watching kids basketball games and he's doing movies and he's doing off the court business ventures. Like those are all. There's a real incentive to him doing those things there in LA, and I think he's kind of sent the signal that yeah, the basketball is important at this point, but the business is right there too, and we're doing all this stuff out here in LA. I mean, he never went to the Lakers for the basketball, like it's good that they got Davis there, and that led to a championship with the bubble and everything like that. But there were other reasons that he went there, and those reasons will probably keep him there. This is the perfect time for the Cavs to make a move like this because yes, the guys are still pretty young here, but if you have LeBron rounding it out at the center, and I guess this is kind of the point of contention is whether LeBron's still that guy. I was very surprised when I was talking about this on Twitter to see responses like, oh, LeBron can't get it done. Look at what he's doing with the Lakers. It's like he's scoring 29 points a game. He's still almost 7 assists a game, carrying this team night in and night out. This is one of the best seasons he's had from a scoring perspective. So I don't think there's any question of whether he has enough to lead a team to a championship at this point. I know the East is a little bit better, but you put him on that team, and I'm not talking about ripping out Garland or Mobley or like
no,
you
yeah, I
got to
get
keep
that.
those guys. But if it's Sexton, Markkanen, and Seti, I like that. Even picks. You know how I feel about first round picks. I'm ready to throw them out the window. I get the value for a team like Cleveland, but if you get this one shot, let's say maybe 2 shots at going for it all with LeBron at the center of this, I know there's probably a pride thing to getting this done without LeBron for once, but there's a reason that he's been the only guy who's ever wanted to go back to Ohio in free agency there. Like this is just
Hey,
his
Flowery
thing.
marketing, baby. He wanted to force his way there in a sign and trade. Karis LeVert, he's excited about it. Like
He's from there too.
yeah,
You
Karis
got to be
LeVert's
from
coming
there to
home.
understand it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see it. I don't truly believe that he wants to come back. Like, I don't think he wants to force a trade to Cleveland. But if after his contract's up or the
Are you
last year of
excited
his
for it
career,
though? If it's in the cards,
I'd be fine with it. Like I would get excited to see him put on a Cavs jersey again. I think it's kind of neat that the only like times we've seen LeBron in a Cavs jersey is with him basically since he's been a young player, like being the best player in the world. Like it's kind of nice that you don't have that old LeBron in a Cavs jersey ever in your memory, right? But if after his contract is up, I'm open to it. I'm not making the consolidation move for LeBron when I feel like you can have sustained success for a very, very long time if you do it for a player that fits the timeline. Like, I just think it's not responsible team building. I respect the amount of experience you need to actually go out and win a championship. And, like, especially the reality of his body's breaking down. Like, he's not able to stay healthy anymore. I really don't think that if you made that trade that you're kind of outlining, I don't think they'd go out and win a championship. Like, it's nice to think, but I think the core is still a couple of years away, even with LeBron.
My concern's less that, and it is a concern. I see the reason why the Cavs would say no being the allure and just the gravity and the control that he has in these kind of situations that we're seeing play out with the Lakers right now. I could see not wanting to impress that upon Mobley and Garland and having these guys kind of have to form their games to playing around him and all the different kind of stuff that just comes with LeBron. And it's not a positive or a negative thing. You're always getting the positive out of him being there, but it's just part of the package, just the LeBron effect or whatever you want to call it, just the experience of having him there. I think that could be a little weighty for some young guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. To me, it doesn't even. That's not that high on my list of thoughts when it comes to this. Like, I just can't see him really wanting to come back at this
Yeah.
point. Like, not force a trade to the Cavs. I think that would be a tough look as well. And if he did hit the trade market, I think even in a 1 year scenario, I think there's other teams that would be more interested. Like, if you're the Golden State Warriors and he's available, you can make
How
LeBron for
goofy would
Wiggins,
that
baby.
be?
LeBron for Wiggins.
There's some real goofy LeBron scenarios this
Bring
summer,
the
which is just
whole thing
absolutely
full
insane.
circle. Bring the
All
whole thing
because of
full
a
circle.
stupid Russell
Wiggins,
Westbrook trade.
Kaminga, like you get a couple picks in there, season
Oh
it
my
in,
God, the
and
fans would lose their minds. You thought
uh,
Durant was bad going there.
no,
No, there's some real wacky scenarios that are possible this summer with LeBron just because, man, they have no outs there in LA. Like, they are just
no.
stuck with what they have there, and it is not good. In fact, you think of all these guys they brought in, Melo, Dwight, Rondo, Bradley, like they actually got some decent guys in the door. None of it worked. And I don't think they're gonna have better options next offseason. I didn't even hate the Russ thing at first, but
Oh,
then
I
you just thought
despised it.
about,
I
yeah,
despised it.
you actually thought about how they fit together, and there was just no way it was gonna work. Like you just said, oh, they'll figure it out, and it wasn't gonna happen. I do want to talk before we get you out of here about the Bronny thing, which is interesting to me. So of course he's gonna try to plays last season with Bron or as the current rules are structured here. I'm surprised he sent out that announcement or proclamation or whatever it is here that he's going to do that and that's going to be the setup because Bronny's not this slam dunk prospect. And, he's still a junior in high school. LeBron's talked in the past about like, oh, I put this pressure on him by giving him my name. And now all of a sudden there's this pressure of they're going to play together and it's going to be awesome. And like he's just going to storm right into the league that year. I mean, what if he needs 3-4 years to ramp up and make the NBA? What if he
He's
needs to
still
go to
going to
the
get
G
drafted.
League?
He's still going to get drafted because some team knows if you're getting LeBron for 1 year, you're going to sell tickets, you're going to sell jerseys,
But is
and
that
it's
what's
going to be
best
a
for
big deal.
Bronny? Now, like again,
Oh,
it's great that he'll be a shoo-in to get into the league, but I'm talking about in terms of actually succeeding in the league.
I I think the idea of college basketball, like giving you the seasoning and experience you need to make in the league, is something that is perpetuated by college basketball. I don't think it's actually real. Like college basketball is shit. It doesn't resemble real basketball.
Yeah, he shouldn't go
It's
to college.
awful. Like if it causes him to come out a year early and what ends up happening is he spends time in the G League and he's around pro trainers and whatnot, like that's going to help him more than college. Like I just don't buy the narrative that like it could cost him the college experience that would make the difference on his career. Like it I don't he doesn't seem like he's a great prospect. He'd probably get some second round consideration, and this is a way to get him into the league. And I think there's a very, very obvious location where this could occur. And I feel like it's the most likely and hilarious way for this to play out. And
Where's
that
that?
Bing Bong, baby. The New
Uh,
York Knicks, after striking out once again on a million rebuilds and making all the mistakes that they make, I can see Bronny and LeBron finally going to the Mecca and completing this weird, weird run that LeBron has had on multiple
well,
teams.
way to give them more hope. I know they're already dreaming of Zion.
Yeah. Yeah. The Knicks signing a past his prime star for marketing sounds pretty on brand for them.
Well, the best move you ever made was not going there in the first free agency, for sure. Despite what benefits that might have been off the court there, man, that was a rough stretch after that. That's about all I got here. We talked All-Star, we talked Curry, we talked LeBron. How you feel about those Celtics? Last time we were ready to burn it down. Now they've won 16 to 21, best defense in the league. They've
I adore the Derek White addition. I
yeah,
think that makes such a big difference. He's such a lineup completer. I think that is a perfect fit. Boston was peaking at the right time heading into the break. I think
50
that
piece on the Sixers. That was insane.
yeah. Well, sometimes I'm tempted to throw out the results in the last week right before the break because players kind of mentally check out and whatnot. But I think even that is still impressive to go out there and do
That
that
was
in any
Harden
sense.
night. That was the night they introduced Harden. He didn't
Yep.
play, but
It,
man,
it, it was very impressive. Like I don't think like I don't say that to take anything away from them because right now they are as scary as any team in the Eastern Conference. Like
so
uh
you think they could be a contender here?
I don't think they're a contender to necessarily come out of the East. I think they can beat anyone in the East in a series, right? Like I think that they could beat any individual team. I just don't know if they have enough juice to win all three rounds. But I think that the Derek White addition is laying the foundation for them really turning this around and becoming a sustainably good team because now you're in a position where you get a real point guard in there. I think that's going to make a really, really big difference. Like I think Derek White is the perfect two to go alongside, kind of like a Delonte West type combo guard that just completes a lineup. I think he is a really, really good fit. So if you can find a way to flip Marcus Smart and bring in a real point guard that connects everything, maybe shore up a
Mm.
little bit of the depth, I think Boston is now on the right track.
So that's interesting to me, the smart factor, because I actually thought he might get flipped on deadline day after they brought in White. Now, White hasn't played like a point of attack, like initiator role in that point guard spot. He's more the secondary guy
Yeah.
with like the
Which is
secondary
his
actions
best role.
there, which is his game. Yeah.
And
So
you can get by with two combo guards, right? Like you can do that for now, but I think long term you still need that guy that sets the table for everybody.
might be smart. I'm being swayed a little bit by his recent play here, and
Well,
I've been a big
I mean
smart guy.
his recent play, like I don't think you would have got much value for him at the trade deadline because of the amount he's paid and how poorly he had played earlier in the season. He can either play his way into being that guy or he can play his way into actually giving the Celtics more options. So I think from Boston's perspective, it was smart to keep him, pardon the pun, and let him play it out because whether it is through internal improvement or just showcasing him with less time on his contract, I think that's the right way to go.
Yep, and that lineup: White, Smart, Tatum, Brown, Rob. It's been fun.
Pretty good.
I was worried
Pretty
about the
damn
shooting,
good.
but they have smashed teams with that lineup so far, and they'll have some challenges right out of the break. We'll see
I
where
no
that
longer
goes.
want to play them in a playoff series.
I'm
No,
ready
sir.
for it. I'm ready for some Cavs Celtics action. A couple of trips to Cleveland because I missed out here over the break. I did. It looked like a lot of fun there, and good fan base, good back and forth between the two groups, and more podcasts with you. So let's get that
Absolutely.
done. 3 versus 6. We'll take
Yeah.
it.
Sounds good.
Justin Rowan, you can follow him at Cavs Onida. You can listen to the Chase Down podcast. We just recorded a new one tonight, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
so
We'll
that
be
will
up
be
tomorrow.
out. Spotify, Apple, everywhere you get that. They're signed up with an extension with the Cavaliers, official podcast of the Cavaliers. So check them out. I'll be listening to that tomorrow. And of course, check us out too. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get the podcast. Dome Theory. Ton of guests booked for the next week or two here. We're off to Brooklyn tomorrow to go see Net Celtics out of the break there on Thursday. So we will be there live for that. Garden Report will be back soon. I believe we're going to do something tomorrow on Discord, so stay tuned for that. And then, of course, we'll be on post-game after Net Celtics on Thursday. So appreciate everybody hanging in there with us through the break. We definitely took a bit of a back seat here over the last 5 days or so to get some rest, but we're going full speed ahead for the stretch run here. So appreciate you all listening, and thanks again for joining us, Justin.
No problem. Thanks for having me.